terahertz. Okay, so that's how the millimeter wave and the terahertz is coming into existence for the sensing application. Now let us discuss about the communication. How communication is, why communication is migrating to the terahertz or millimeter wave. When we had conventional services, okay, you want, so far there is a distinction between the services which you require inside your home and there are services which you require when you are going out, okay, out of your home. So when you are within your home, what you are using? A Wi-Fi router, right? Most of the time your computers, everything is getting connected, or even your cameras, everything is getting connected to a Wi-Fi router, and through that you are getting access to the network. Okay, so there was one standard which was going parallelly to take care of high data rate but fixed broadband connectivity, okay, without any mobility. So those are the Wi-Fi standards. We'll discuss. I will just show you how the Wi-Fi standard has evolution of Wi-Fi standard. And there is another area where I require mobility. Okay, so far up to 4G, there is a Wi-Fi which takes care of our house requirement, and there is a 4G or 3G which takes care of my mobility requirement, right? But what is happening with 5G or 6G? There is no barrier. 5G promises that I will take care of your broadband connectivity within the house itself. Okay, and I will also provide a mobile broadband connectivity, and I will also connect all the devices, not only human interface, but all machine, that IoT which you call Internet of Things. It is what? It is basically a massive machine integration actually. All machines are getting integrated with a wireless device and they are interconnected. Okay, that is what IoT talks about. So then what happens if you talk of integration of all these services? Your data rate requirement is going to be very high. You don't have the frequency spectrum available up to 6 gigahertz. So we have to migrate to higher frequencies to cater for those bandwidth requirement and those high speed data rate requirement. And that's how we are coming to this area. Okay. So like autonomous vehicles, autonomous UAVs, if they have to communicate wirelessly, they will be generating a lot of that data. So that can be connected only through a 5G in millimeter wave. Okay, and if you are going beyond that, okay, extended reality or digital twinning concepts, these new concepts where very high data rate is required, even more than what 5G is promising, then we have to definitely venture into a terahertz frequency. Okay, so somebody in the morning was asking why we are migrating. Okay, what is the reason? The reason is that every day we are getting hungry for the data and wireless data. We don't want a fiber to be connected to our device. Okay, everybody wants to be mobile. Okay, so if you are looking for that kind of requirement, definitely you have to venture into higher frequency bands. Now, when you are going to millimeter wave or you are going to terahertz, can you go to any frequency? That is the major question. The answer is no. Actually, if you see in 5G also, there are certain specific bands defined. So what is the criteria to define that band? The criteria is, we have got molecules, right, in the air. There are water molecules, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and so many other molecules. So what happens? Molecular absorption happens. Your wavelength is becoming very close to the molecular sizes. Okay, so what happens? The absorption will start increasing, and it so happens that this absorption will be peaking at certain frequency points, and there will be some kind of well or the lower absorption in between those peak points. So when we decide the frequencies for millimeter wave or for terahertz, we look for these wells where the atmospheric absorption is less. It means my communication will get affected least in these particular frequency points. Okay. Okay, so that's why you can see this is the H2O graph, this is O2 graph. You can see the null here. So basically, millimeter wave communication is happening somewhere here. Okay. Then W band is decided over here. That is like around 100 gigahertz, 90 to 110 gigahertz. A band is coming here, and terahertz again has been identified because of this well coming over here. Okay, there are peak points on both sides, right? So you cannot operate your system on these two peak points. Otherwise, your signal loss will be very huge. Okay. So similarly, and if you see similar to these kind of molecular absorption, if you see the losses happening because of different atmospheric conditions. For example, rain, fog, mist, snow. Okay, that also depends upon their sizes, particle sizes, whether they are falling towards the higher frequency or towards the lower frequency. For example, when you have rain, right? So raindrops are comparable to these frequencies. So that's why you are seeing the rain will be peaking over these frequencies and then it will get stabilized. Okay. So rain loss will be happening over here. As you are going away, because particle size frequency has become smaller than particle size, so you will not have that kind of effect. Okay. Similarly for the other things, mist, fog. So all these particle size are slowly moving towards high frequency, and wherever the particle size coincides with the frequency, then you will have more losses because of those atmospheric phenomena which are happening. Okay. So this is again a specific attenuation. Basically, specific attenuation takes care of all kinds. Earlier graph I was showing H2O, O2, CO2 separately, but if you take all molecular absorption, then you get this kind of graph. And you can see when you have standard atmospheric condition, the losses are high. When you have very dry weather, okay, in the dry weather condition you will have lesser losses because your H2O content in the atmosphere has reduced. This is again zenith attenuation, which we decide in the vertical direction. Like if you are at 10 km above the mean sea level, then what kind of attenuations you are going to see. You can see similar graph we see over here also. All these graphs are defined in this ITU-RS standard. In fact, if you want to see, you can read this report in detail. You will understand how the atmospheric losses are happening. So here you can see I have already shown H2O and O2. One more thing, basically suppose I am at mean sea level. When I am telling 0 km, I am at mean sea level. Okay. As I am going up, then what is happening is the losses are coming down. Okay. But there will be ripples coming because as we are going up, the behavior of the atmosphere is little unpredictable. Okay, the molecular composition is unpredictable. So because of that, you will see lot of these kind of undulations coming. But overall, if you see from 0 km to 20 km altitude, if you are going, the losses are coming down. Why? Because air density is reducing, right? From mean sea level, as you are going up, the air density is reducing. So your composition has reduced, density of the molecules has reduced, okay, and it will result in the lower losses. Okay. While I am explaining all this, these are not very much important for commercial applications. But when we are talking about SATCOM, when we are talking about defense application where aircrafts are flying at 5 km altitude or 10 km altitude, missiles are flying at 100 km altitude, okay, 200 km altitude, then these things becomes very important. We have to study all these parameters to understand whether our system will be reliable under those conditions or not. Okay. Now, let us see how the defense technology trend is evolving actually. This I have taken from a US research which has been done for US companies. So they analyzed almost more than 1,000 startups in US